Welcome to episode 123. 123.
Great.
3 ways to be better than every other FBO.
That presupposes you do all 3 ways.
Presupposes a couple of other things, but these are things that not very many people are doing that I think make a big difference. So we're actually in the middle of a series, or we're starting a series on MROs, FBOs, and charters. We focus on a different theme each month, and this is our theme for April of 2018. Of course, you could be listening to this anytime in the future.
Right.
So, whenever it is, just so you know, this is our theme for April of 2018, excuse me. Jeez, it's April and I'm still doing that. But what these 3 things have in common is that they are all service providers, right?
Right.
So if you are in any kind of aviation business that involves service, this is a really good episode to listen in on as well. And actually all of these will be really good because there are going to be some things that you can use.
Oh, now wait a minute.
Yeah.
And which part of aviation doesn't involve service?
Products. But they still do involve service.
But they still involve customer service.
That is true, and service is usually the biggest differentiating factor. So
Yep.
This is going to be a really fun series to do, and also a really good way to do some great differentiation that is not your typical features and benefits, right? That you think of when you're doing product sales, which is what most of us learned in school, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, but first, I'm Paula Williams.
And I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
To help all you folks out there sell more products and services. And in this picture, if you see the picture, I'm the thin guy on the left-hand side.
This is John and I with our very good friends, Don and Shelley, and we were in Kings Canyon National Park.
Yeah, we've driven through Sequoia, Kings Canyon, and spent most of a week there.
Absolutely, and John has a Heritage Softail,
Yep.
which is absolutely beautiful, and he says he would never buy a bike this old, but he bought it new.
I bought it new, but what this thing about the other day, the thing is what, this is 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I never would have bought a 16-year-old bike.
Right. It still looks fabulous, and we still really enjoy riding it. We took it out today for the first time
This year.
And in Utah we have winters where they put salt on the road, and so we don't want to take it out until after we've had a good rain.
Yeah, it's hasn't been in a show, but it's a show bike.
Right, exactly. And it just, it's one of those things where I had a million things to do and a bunch of errands to run and things like that, and it was just so nice to get on the bike and just go,
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of when I was learning to fly. And, there's this big long checklist of things you have to get good at, and you have to check these off, and you have to be perfect at this and perfect at that, or within these standards on this. And it had turned into kind of a slog. Not just a slog, but a stressful slog, right? Because you're spending a ton of money every time you take the airplane out. And, then finally one of the instructors that I was working with said, just take the airplane and for 15 or 20 minutes, just go up by yourself, chase some clouds around, and just remember why the heck you're doing this, right? I just about said a bad word there, but just remember why you're doing this. And, remember why you love this, right?
Yep. And every year, the first ride out, I'm always by myself. I want to make sure I still know how to ride.
Absolutely.
I solo first.
He solos first and remembers why he loves doing this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if you are in a service industry, or if you ever do business with a service industry, which we all do, the grocery store, restaurants, all kinds of places that we go, you can tell when you run into somebody that really loves what they do, right?
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, there's a grocery store that we love that is better than every other grocery store, partly because of selection, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that you've got people in the produce section that just really geek out on lemongrass, They really love what they do, and they love helping people, get the right stuff to make a fabulous meal that they're really going to like.
But they all know where everything is. Mm-hmm. You ask anybody where product A is, oh, that's right over here, it's 2 aisles in, they take you there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So loving what you do is probably the overarching theme of the 3 things we're going to get into, but we are going to get into some three very tactical things that are really easy to implement if you know what they are. But what a lot of people tell us that work in FBOs and things like that are that they are in what we call a commodity dungeon. And this is a term that I'm stealing from Bill Caskey from the Advanced Selling Podcast and from the book that we read last month, Same Game, New Rules, right? Mm-hmm. And the commodity dungeon is basically you're chained to the wall, right? There's nothing you can do about the fact that there are some people who are going to be shopping based on fuel price. And that's the only thing they look at, and you can't change it because of whatever, you've got a contract, right? You're stuck in a situation and there's nothing you can do about it.
That's only 20% of the people.
Right, exactly. So we're going to talk about the people who you can influence and how to influence them, right?
This is all like the old sales guys should tell you.
Mm-hmm.
20% of the people can't be sold to, and 20% of the people you don't need to sell to is going to buy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That leaves you 60% of the people to sell to.
Exactly. Who can be influenced by things that you have within your sphere of influence, things that you actually have control over. Wouldn't that be refreshing, right? Okay, cool. So let's start with the thing that we call the logo test. And this actually is a website of an FBO, and I want you to guess who it is. Individualized service and always the best price. Blank is the premier choice for the world's leading aircraft operators because of the long history of our commitment to you, our customers. Our blank location is the preferred full-service FBO. All of our staff take personal pride in what we do for you, and we guarantee the quality of our service. If there's any question, just ask. We are uniquely qualified to serving you, and we are dedicated to taking exceptional care of your passengers, crew, and airplane.
And which FBO in the country that doesn't fit?
Right. And I don't want to embarrass anybody, but we want to embarrass somebody because we care, We care enough to call somebody out, and whoever has this as their front page of their website, you know who you are. But there are a lot of people that have something so similar to this that you could just substitute the name and the location.
And the logo.
Exactly. And it could apply to anybody. There is nothing here that's unique, right?
Nope.
Okay. Now, we can start with the amenities, the things that a lot of FBOs have. Do they have avgas, Jet A, etc., de-ice, preheat, GPU starts, baggage
and most
handling?
all of them have all that stuff.
Yeah, the whole list of things that most of them have. And you can add some of those. If you don't have them, you may want to consider adding some of these things. But that's not what we're talking about today.
Right.
Okay? You can always improve the product, but that's not really about marketing. That's about product development, right?
Exactly.
Okay, or service development. If you do offer these things and you don't say so on your website, you should. And you should say so in nauseating detail. So, if you have a crew car, you should say what kind of crew car it is, especially if it's something cool or interesting or fun or neat. If you have a Jeep, some FBOs have Jeeps.
And do you take it out to the airplane when they roll up before they actually open the cargo bay, or do you make them come in and get it?
Exactly.
Etc.
Right. Are you a member of some of these programs? If so, are you a silver, gold, or platinum member of some of these programs? Do you offer quick turn service? And what does that mean? What does that include? Because that means different things to different folks.
Yep, it does.
Exactly. So all of these things are things that you can and should mention on your website, but and on your brochures and on your other marketing materials. But that's not really the focus of what we're talking about today. I just thought to be complete, we have to include that. There's also style, right? Every FBO has a different look and feel, and you can always make it more inviting, usually without spending a whole lot of money, just by simply reception areas and other things, making them look more inviting. The first 15 seconds are really important from the time you walk in the door. Curb appeal is really important to an
Fresh
FBO.
coffee and cookies is always a good thing.
Cookies is always a good thing. Right. A lot more people are getting more health conscious these days. So
yeah, but fresh coffee is still good.
Yep.
Not been there heating for the last 3 hours.
Right. That is absolutely true. And maybe a basket of apples or something.
Yeah, right.
Those kinds of things. Okay, so the 3 things we're going to talk about, that's all other stuff. that you already know about, that you could improve and that you could differentiate based on those things. But here are 3 things you may not have thought of, and 3 things that I think are much easier to use as your differentiating factor. One is the location. Everybody has a different location, right?
True.
And you can sell the heck out of just about any location, because every location has an advantage to somebody if you think about who that somebody should be, right?
In fact, we know we know of a location on the West Coast that is really great, and the FBO really isn't. But they still get a lot of customers.
Absolutely. 2 is the airport. You want to sell the airport because every airport is better or worse for certain people, depending on what they're after. And the 3rd is your people. You have people that nobody else has, and they are different from everybody else's people. So let's talk about how we can do this. First, sell the location. Now, this is Ogden, Utah, if you're familiar with the Mountain West. There are 2 big airports that are huge with skiers in Utah. One is Salt Lake City International. The other one is Ogden Airport. Right. Ogden makes the case very convincingly that you can be skiing faster if you land at Ogden than if you land at Salt Lake.
True.
The location is actually better. You're out of the traffic. It's not Bravo airspace. All of those things.
Oh, so faster to the same 5.
Same ski resorts, exactly.
Cool.
They also have some ski resorts that are closer.
Yeah, they do.
And a lot less traffic and so on. So, you can sell the location. You can talk about how it's a historic railroad town, how they've got some fabulous shopping, all of the things about the town that you can talk about. This is Greenville, South Carolina. Also a beautiful location. And, there's a lot of business there that isn't elsewhere, that it's a better place to land than other nearby locations closer to a lot of the bigger businesses and things like that. This is Santa Teresa, New Mexico. Also, a very cool location. They've got a business park that is right on the border, so it's in one of those free, I'm not sure exactly what the zoning is, but it's one of those international zones that certain types of businesses can do things more easily than other places in the U.S. Okay, so sell the location. Everybody has a different location that has different sports teams, different geography, different businesses, all kinds of things that you can really get into the details of on your website.
Yeah, and if you don't, then people looking at the website don't know.
Right, exactly.
Unless they've been there, but those aren't the people because they're going to come back anyway.
Exactly. And if you're one of those FBOs that has several locations, then you've got lots of opportunities to do this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And you may want to also include a lot of that information that's going to help you rise to the top of the search engines in what we call local search, so that people who are in your area are going to be looking for those things. So, if they are a Clemson booster and they're in South Carolina, you better be showing up. Whatever your local golf courses are, your local universities, everything that is unique to where you are. So that's the location. Second thing, you want to sell the airport. Now there are some really unique things about Ogden Airport, right?
Yep. It's the only airport in the country where you can drive up to a hangar without going through any kind of security check, walk into the hangar with the code, and walk out the other side of the hangar and you're on the airport. They wanted, the intent was way back when that this was going to be the model for small airports around the country, but the FAA nixed it, but they already acknowledged this one, so it's the only one.
Right, so it has a...
And it's TSA on the other side of the hangar door.
Right, grandfathered in with these special security arrangements. So if you're a business that doesn't want a whole lot of red tape and things, this is a fantastic location for you.
Yep.
I'll tell you another thing about Ogden Airport, and this is from a flight training perspective. This is where I did some of my flight training. You can see the runways are in an X. So if you're just listening to this, you just have to picture an airport that's where the runways are in a fabulous, almost 90-degree, not quite perfect X. And you can do a lot of landings in this type of an airport and in a lot of different wind conditions, because you can just take off turn around, land on the other runway, take off from that one, turn around, land, do a cloverleaf. You know, if you're the only one out there early in the morning or late at night, you can just do landings and get in more landings in a shorter amount of time than just about any other airport I've ever seen, right?
You can do the same thing at Salt Lake International if you can find a time when there's no traffic.
There's never a time when Salt Lake International has no traffic.
Well, there's like Friday night about 3 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Right, and you have to get an ATC person who is willing to
That's
play
right,
along.
let you do that.
Right, exactly. But Ogden's much easier for that sort of thing.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the Greenville Downtown Airport. Actually, this is the park next to the Greenville Downtown Airport, and you can see all of their walkways and things have the runway markers and things. This is a really fun park because it was designed by and for aspiring aviators for their kids, and it's made with airplane parts. It's made with, you know, all of the different runway markers and things. This was designed for field trips. Laura Kaufman at GMU Airport put a lot of work into designing an airport that was a neighborhood airport that would serve all the needs of the neighborhood, including education. So they've got, you know, school programs where they bring their kids and they teach them about air traffic control and, you know, aircraft maintenance and piloting and everything else.
She didn't design the airport.
No,
she designed the green area.
She designed, I don't know if she designed the park, but she sure as heck was the driving force behind a lot of these things. And they've got a mini golf and a splash pad and museum now and all kinds of things. So that airport is a model downtown airport where the community really gets involved. So that's...
This is her way of fighting back. I think back in the day, I took a helicopter into an elementary school.
To your kids' elementary school?
My kids' elementary school for static display.
That's cool.
It took several months of planning and coordinating, but we did it, and we had every kid that wanted to sit in the pilot seat of that helicopter, and the parents came by and took pictures and so forth. You can't do that. I mean, the next when my youngest ended up in that same school, they wouldn't let us do it again.
Right.
So we had to take them to the airport.
It's getting more and more rare to have those opportunities. So, you know, the fact that someone is putting a lot of time and energy into that, a lot of people want to get behind that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You never know what's going to click in a kid's head to say, I want to be in aviation.
Absolutely. So that is a really unique thing about the Greenville Downtown Airport. Really unique thing about Santa Teresa Airport. Would you rather go through customs in Santa Teresa, New Mexico, which is a little tiny airport, or would you rather go through customs in El Paso, Texas, in the international airport?
Yeah, this one's a little bit faster, I'd say.
Significantly. If you don't want to wait in line, you want to be able to do things fairly quickly, be one of very few on the agenda for the day for the local customs folks, that is the place to go. And so if you're doing international business, if you're doing international travel, those kinds of things, the Santa Teresa Airport has a lot of advantages over the El Paso Airport.
You bet.
Right. So just about any airport you can name, and we just went through 3 of them, has a unique location and has some unique things about the airport itself that you should have on your homepage. Why do you not, if that is what you're selling, right?
Yep.
Okay. And third thing is your people. Everybody has people. Every FBO has people. And that becomes, you know, as we had talked about at the very beginning of this podcast, one of the main reasons that people do business in certain places and with certain businesses is because they really like the people. And it seems like, especially if you're talking about high net worth and ultra high net worth people, they like seeing familiar faces. They like having that security of knowing who their pilots are, knowing who's working on their airplane, knowing who the line guys are, knowing all of those things. And if your FBO can feature your people, and if you look at this group of people, this is actually a Special Services Corporation with Doug Goldstrom and his team. Every one of these people has something that is incredibly cool about them. You know, a lot of them worked on the Greenville Downtown Airport, or helped them design it, or do scout things with kids that are working on their aviation badges. They work on the southeast Aviation Expo. They volunteer for a lot of these things. Some of them have really unique hobbies and work on different things and work for different charities in the local area. Every one of these guys is incredibly cool. And you wouldn't know that unless they talked about it. So they talk about their people on their blog, and it's great.
Yep.
So that's one of the things that can differentiate them from a lot of the other organizations, is they've got people that stick around with them for years and years and years. They don't have a high turnover.
No, it's low to non-existent.
Right. So whatever business you are in, the people you are sitting next to right now are probably cooler than maybe even you even know. But if you started asking around and thinking like a reporter, what is the coolest thing about this person that they would not mind the rest of the world knowing, Do they volunteer for a particular cause? Are they an Olympic athlete? You never know until you start asking. There's a lot of people that work for just about every organization who are very unique and very cool.
Yep.
And making some of that known to your customers will help them remember, oh yeah, that's the guy that handles my bags, and he's also training for a triathlon. Really cool stuff, and people do like to get to know the folks that they work with, and if you love what you do, it shows. And the people that love what they do really need to be highlighted, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So download our FBO marketing checklist for even more FBO marketing goodness. That gives you some additional tips and tricks and other things that you can do that are specific to FBOs that are really helpful for getting your name out there and getting customers away from the other FBOs in your area, right? Even if you feel like you're chained to the wall, you're really not. There's a lot of things you can change. We talked about 3 of them today: location, airport, and people.
Yep.
And there's even more of them in this checklist. Right?
So the only people you need to worry about are those that download the checklist.
Right. If your competitors have already downloaded the checklist, or if your competitors are our clients, I would be very afraid, right? Okay. You can also schedule a time to talk with us about your FBO and what challenges you're running into. Just go to the gold Let's Talk button on the left-hand side of our website. Click that, pick a time from our calendar, and we'd be happy to sit down with you for 30 minutes and talk about what's going on with your FBO, what your goals are, what your challenges are, what is making you feel like you're chained to the wall.
And let's help break the chain.
And help get out of that. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Have a great day. See you later.